Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world went dark. And something extraordinary happened inside that darkness. Something your brain still remembers. Something your body still craves. You think nighttime is for sleeping. You think ancient humans crawled into their caves when the sun disappeared and woke up when it rose again. 8 hours of unconscious silence, then back to surviving. But that's not what happened. Not even close. The real story of what your ancestors did at night is far stranger, far richer, and far more human than anything you've been taught. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your own sleepless nights the same way again. Anthropologist Jerome Groopman once wrote that the biggest mistake we make about our ancestors is assuming they were simply trying not to die. That survival was the whole story. But humans were doing something else entirely when the sun went down. They were becoming human. Here's what the firelight actually looked like. You are sitting in a circle. The fire is small, just enough to hold back the dark. Around you are 12, maybe 15 people. Some are kin, some are not. All of them are close enough to touch. The air smells like smoke and damp earth and whatever animal was roasted an hour ago. The children are not asleep. Neither are the elders. Nobody is rushing toward morning. This is not rest. This is the most socially intense part of your entire day. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent years studying the Juhwanzi people of the Kalahari, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer communities whose lifestyle offers a living window into our deep past. What she found when she compared daytime conversations to nighttime conversations was stunning. During the day, people talked about practical things: food, tools, who went where, economic decisions, criticism of others. The social machinery of survival ran loudly in the light. But when night fell and the fire was lit, the conversation transformed completely. Nighttime talk was almost entirely about other people, but not in a gossipy, petty way. It was about absent friends, about the qualities of people loved and lost, about courage, generosity, stinginess, betrayal, about the invisible rules that held the community together, about what it meant to be good and what happened when you weren't. Wiessner found that more than 80% of nighttime conversation was devoted to what she called social and emotional topics. Not logistics, not planning, stories. Your ancestors told stories at night, every night, for hundreds of thousands of years. And this wasn't entertainment in the passive modern sense. Something to fill dead time before sleep. These stories were doing something crucial to the architecture of your mind. They were building your capacity for empathy, for moral reasoning, for imagining lives that were not your own. Psychologist Robin Dunbar, who spent decades studying the evolution of the human brain, argues that narrative, specifically the shared telling of stories about people, is the mechanism by which early humans expanded their social world far beyond what any other primate could manage. Other primates maintain social bonds through grooming, touch, physical presence. There is a ceiling to how many animals you can groom in a day. There are only so many hours of daylight. But language, and specifically storytelling at night, broke that ceiling. You could bond with 15 people at once, sitting around a fire. You could talk about someone who wasn't there. You could keep a person emotionally alive in the memory of a whole group. You could teach a child the difference between right and wrong through a story about a stranger from 3 villages away. The firelight circle was not a luxury. It was the original internet, a social network that ran on narrative, on voice, on the dark. And it ran late. This is the part that surprises people most. Your ancestors did not sleep the way you think they slept. They did not experience one long, unbroken 8-hour sleep. That model, the consolidated pharmaceutically ideal night of unconscious silence, is a product of the industrial age. It is the sleep of factories and alarm clocks and artificial light that tells your body it's always almost noon. In 2001, historian Roger E. Kirch published his landmark work on pre-industrial sleep and revealed something remarkable. For most of human history, the night was divided into 2 distinct sleep periods, separated by an hour or more of wakefulness. People called it the first sleep and the second sleep. The hour in between had a name. It was called the watching hour, or the midnight waking, or simply the quiet. What did people do during this midnight hour? They talked to their housemates. They prayed. They had sex. They interpreted their dreams not as entertainment, but as messages, as data, as a signal from a part of themselves they couldn't reach while awake. Some got up and walked. Some visited neighbors. Some sat with the dying or the newborn. This waking hour was not insomnia. It was not a malfunction. It was biology, and it had purpose. Neuroscientist Russell Foster, one of the world's leading researchers on circadian biology, has studied what the brain does during that natural midnight awakening. The answer is striking. Levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with deep calm and a kind of meditative alertness, are elevated in a way that doesn't occur at any other time of day. The brain during this window is in a unique state, relaxed but awake, open but unguarded. Your ancestors were using this window deliberately. For the same reason meditators seek silence, for the same reason you sometimes find your clearest thinking happens in the dark at 3 a.m. The night was not an enemy to be defeated, it was a resource. Now consider what else was happening while the fire burned low. Music. Almost certainly. Music? The oldest known musical instruments, bone flutes found in what is now Germany, date back at least 43,000 years. They were found in the same stratum as evidence of fire use and communal living. You do not carve a flute out of a vulture bone because you have extra time. You carve it because you need it, because something in you demands it. Dance almost certainly followed.